Dr. Abidan Shah, and today I want to introduce you to the facsimile of Codex Vaticanus. As I mentioned before, a facsimile is much more than just a Xerox copy. It gets as close as possible to the original. This one right here, if you can notice, even the hole in these various places is as accurately represented as possible. Only 450 of these facsimiles were made back in the late 90s, and we have one of those copies. But let's talk about Codex Vaticanus for a moment. It is represented in the New Testament by the letter B, or 03 is the number. It has both the Old and the New Testament, but portions of Genesis, Psalms, and then from Hebrews to the end, the pastoral epistles, Revelation missing. Something very interesting, we don't really know where Vaticanus comes from or how did it get to the Vatican, other than the fact that in the 1475 or so catalog mentions the presence of this manuscript, and that's pretty much all we know. A lot of suggestions have been made as to who gave this as a gift and all that. We don't really know for sure. Now, it's a wonderful, wonderful manuscript because Codex, because it has both the Old and the New Testament. Talking about the text is more Alexandrian, as you can imagine, somewhere about 350 AD. From the best estimations of scholars, coming from probably Upper Egypt. But paleographically, it's kind of hard to determine because there were two different scribes, A and B. The New Testament was copied by the B scribe, but then about 10th, 11th century, somebody came along and they overwrote on the script and the accents and everything, and so it how do I say this? It made a beautiful codex not as beautiful, because now you have to work with these overwritings. But nonetheless, it's a very important document, written and unsealed. Now, each of these pages, 5 quires, but each of these pages are square, okay, with 3 columns, 40 to 44 lines. And in some places you also notice 2 columns, if I can find one here. Oh, there you go. There's 2 columns as well. But most of the times you find these 3 column, written in 3 columns. Also, very important to remember that compared to, say, Sinaiticus, it's not as pretty, but it's, again, an important text to understand. It's been seen in the Bodmer papyrus and others, so we know that it's an old text. Now, scholars will differ based on their text critical history and transmissional history as to is this the best text or not, but I'm not getting into that right now, other than the fact that this is a very, very important manuscript to understand the history of the New Testament text. So this is it. This is Codex Vaticanus, one of those 450 copies that were made back in the late 90s, and we happen to have one here. Quite a wonderful prize collection.